This week on the podcast, can going to the gym and running a business really be that similar? We'll find out. Welcome to the Profit Cash Growth Podcast. This is the podcast for 6 and 7 figure business owners who are looking to grow a financially successful business. My co-host Claire Hancock is a finance director, chartered accountant and entrepreneur. And every week I'll be exploring guidance and frameworks designed to help you increase your profits, improve your cash flow and grow your business. Right then, Claire, now we're all quavered up. Ready for this week's podcast?
Oh, I didn't eat quavers though, did I? I had these really low-fat, cardboard tasting things, but yeah, I would have liked to have eaten quavers.
Anyway, I've got a really serious question for you. Can I ask you, what are you doing for World Bee Day on the 20th of May?
Well, I didn't know it was World Bee Day, but bees are...
People think you're saying World Bee Day, like a bidet?
No, it's not for cleaning your bottom.
World is in Buzzy Bee Day, yeah?
Yeah, what a random thing. There's a day for everything now, isn't there? But bees in particular, they are the cornerstone of our nature, aren't they?
I wasn't expecting this big sell about bees. I just was like, I saw it in a magazine. I didn't know there was World Bee Day, but what's your plans? You can buy some honey?
Do you know what? I bloody love honey. And I would say for anybody who goes and buys their honey from the supermarket, scrap it. Never buy that crap ever again. Go to a proper farm shop, an artisan bee honey place, and you can taste the difference. It is like chalk and cheese. The stuff in the supermarkets is just basically water and sugar, whereas when you go and you get proper honey, you can really taste the difference in the types of flowers that are actually in the environment. It's staggering.
Indeed. And do you know what? For a well-spoken Southern girl, your language is gutter. There's a crap in there, a bloody in there. I've noticed as of last week, your language is getting worse and worse each week. We're going to be dropping the F-bomb in a few weeks' time, aren't we? And this podcast is labelled as clean, so you need to tidy your language up, I'm afraid.
In the words of Simon, enough of that shit chat, because I have never been more excited to do a podcast than today. I think the world of the gym and business collide, and they are my two favourite topics to talk about. So Simon,
Indeed.
Do a fancy little intro so we can crack on with this.
Well, we need to do the news first, so let's do the news. So this week's news story, you're going to talk about Thames Water. This was on the Rest is Money podcast and the Financial Times recently, and it was just really a shocking revelation, really, wasn't
it? When I heard this, I almost fell off my chair. Ironically, I was actually in the gym listening to this podcast. The Rest is Money, they were talking about the water companies and whether it was right to privatise them or not. That aside, they listed some staggering statistics, which I then also read in the Financial Times, and they said that of all of the pipes and the water network that the different water companies have got, Thames Water estimates that it doesn't know where 30% of its pipes are, and Southern Water said it doesn't know where 40% of its pipes are. And I just thought, what on, as a business, could you imagine having assets and you just don't know where 40% of them are?
It's madness. So this really resonated, well sort of had a light bulb moment with this, because obviously I've heard about a lot about the water companies, but I don't really follow it. I'm too busy. So when you told me that the fundamental issue with this, the under-maintained waterworks, is just the simple fact that 40% of it, they don't even know where they are. So therefore there's no maintenance plan in place. So therefore, things are just falling apart because they're not being looked after. It's staggering. I lost for words with that, but really also just fascinating.
Yeah, it is. I mean, in their defence, they did say that when they took over the water system in 1989 from the government, there was no mapping then. So the government worked on the same basis, and they said the cost of doing it would be prohibitive.
So government are to blame for this one. So when it was in public ownership, that was where the issue was with actually having the mapping and the assets. Is that what you're saying? Or?
Yeah, because obviously it's like Victorian systems that have been adapted and extended, and every time a new estate's built, they put new waterworks in and things like that. But what I found interesting as people that buy a lot of property,
how do they do this in the conveyancing? Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Yeah, because we've paid a lot of money for certain properties to have searches and things like that, and it turns out that maybe 40% of the pipes
we don't even
might not be there. So. Yeah, I just thought as a business model, how can you run a business like this? If you don't know where 40% of your infrastructure is, you don't know what state it's in, and therefore what maintenance is needed, what the cost could be of that. I think back to my days of working in, infrastructure and manufacturing and stuff, a key part of that was maintaining it. In the long run, if you maintained it and did repetitive maintenance, it kept your longer term cost down. And it's no wonder that the water companies are in such financial dire straits if they simply can't maintain their infrastructure because they don't know where it is. It's bonkers, absolutely bonkers.
Amazing. Well, how not to run a business. That's the new story of this week, yeah?
Certainly one to watch. Any utility companies.
Are they going to take them
business
back into public ownership, do you think, with the Labour government? Is that the next step?
Well, maybe this is a podcast for another time, but I think, 2025 will be a crunch point for pretty much every water company. All of them will run out of money in 2025. So there's either going to have to be some sort of government bailout or they have to be privatised. Taken out of privatisation.
Or into the state, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure which I think is the best, a government bailout or if we buy them back, who knows?
I don't know. Anyway, let's move on to this week's deep dive. So in this week, interesting topic. We realise we are gym goers, aren't we, Claire? You perhaps even more so than me. And we started to realise there are quite some similarities to the advancements that you can get in the gym and the advancements that you can get in business. So we thought it would be a fun thing to do to try and overlay those two and see what the correlations are.
I love the gym. I have lived and breathed the gym. If anybody asked me what my number one passion is, I would say it was sports. And by far, I am somebody that likes to get in the gym and do what people would say is called grunt work. So some of those like strongman heavy lifting style things and like CrossFit, Olympic weightlifting, anything like that really I love. And Simon, you're a bit of a late bloomer. You're not really into sports that much, but over the last few years you have got into it more, partly because I forced it upon you, but now you have learned to love it a little bit, haven't you?
Well, I said on our podcast last week that without health there is no wealth, and the reality is that, as you're getting older, you need to look after yourself. So begrudgingly, 3-4 times a week I go to the gym and I do my thing. I get into my routine of what that is. I try very hard not to get injured, which is a big problem as you get older. Is if you push yourself too hard, you very easily get injured, and then you're out in the gym for months on end. And my biggest fear is always just being like knocked out of the gym for months on end, and then you can't do anything. So it is a difficult tightrope for me to walk, I must say.
I don't want to spoil it for the viewers because it is one of the things we'll talk about with the 6 crossovers between the gym world and the business world. But as I keep saying to you, Simon, it's not just about what you do in the hour in the gym. If you do no mobility work, no stretching, no things like yoga, all of those types of things outside of the gym, then you probably are going to get injured in the gym. So, unfortunately, you've only got yourself to blame.
It's a time thing, isn't it? It's having that time. I mean, to be able to dedicate 3-4 hours a week of your time to doing the gym as it is, but you could easily put the same amount of time into all of the ancillary stuff around that, and it's just difficult to find all that time, isn't it? And especially when you're running a business. So,
but I am the kind of person that doesn't feel myself if I can't work out. So anyway, me and Simon are going to give you our rundown of the things that we believe the gym world teaches us about being in business.
Great. So if you don't mind, I'm going to take number 1, just because I'm a big believer in this one, and that is consistency. Consistency. And anybody listening to this that's been in business for more than 5 years will know that everything is about being uber consistent in what you do. So, I mean, I talked about just simply showing up to the gym. That's the starting point, isn't it?
Every workout's better than no workout.
That's the mantra I live by. Yep. Any workout's better than no workout. That can be self-destructive as well if you're not careful, but that's a different thing. But yes, absolutely. Step 1 is, just going to the gym 3-4 times a week, whatever it is. I think if you go 3 times a week and you do the right things in the gym and you do that for a long period of time, indefinitely, you're going to feel gains from that. And I think exactly the same thing can be said in your business. If you pick up the phone to new leads 3-4 times a week rather than not, and you do that absolutely consistently, you will have an ongoing pipeline of new business just dropping into your business, while you sleep at night. It just happens.
I think we've all seen as well those sort of get fit, get ripped, get skinny kind of adverts that some personal trainers sell online. And don't get me wrong, Some of them do work. They're horrendous. You'll be eating like spinach and working out for like 4 hours every day. But if you've got the right body type and your starting point is not too bad, you'll probably get some results. But what we're talking about when we say consistency is like sustained results. So if you do one of these like 12-week boot camps, if your starting point isn't too bad, you might come out of it looking ripped. But the minute you stop, you're going to go back to zero again.
Absolutely.
But if you're 5 years in, you know, we know now that if we go on holiday for a long weekend or something, we won't go to the gym. But that week or like, you know, 5-7 days off of exercise actually does us good. Whereas when you're right at the start, if you take a week off your, you know, your body blitz boot camp or your buff workout, then actually that 7 days of no exercise is going to kill you. So when you're 5 years in, you know, you can take a bit of time off and still not go backwards, and everything just seems a little bit easier. So consistency is really key, but also the length of time. Like realistically, it's probably like 3 to 5 years to change your body and to change everything around you in your life and to reap the rewards of it.
Yeah. So consistency is definitely the first one.
Yeah. So the second one is about constantly challenging yourself and constantly pushing for the next thing. In the fitness world, this is known as progressive overload or hypertrophy. And basically what that means is that if you can lift 10 kg today, then tomorrow you need to try 11. And the next day you need to try 12, and you need to keep pushing those weights up, because you will only keep getting stronger if you keep pushing yourself. And I think this is something we forget about in business, particularly when it comes to, you know, we were having a look at your numbers the other day, actually, Simon, weren't we? We were looking at your marketing spend, and your marketing spend over the years has consistently gone up in line with your sales.
Yes, yeah.
It's like you've got to apply that logic, haven't you?
You should just look at it as a
to get bigger
percentage of the turnover. So if you get it to a place where you keep spending the same on marketing, but your turnover is grown by 50%, well, guess what? Your turnover is going to start to slow down because your marketing spend as a proportion of the size of your business is no longer representative of it.
Yeah, and
so I think, you've
got to keep pushing yourself. If you can do what you can do today, you need to try something different tomorrow. You need to go into tomorrow thinking that you might fail or that you might not be able to do it, and keep challenging yourself. I think firstly it also keeps you engaged and motivated with things as well. If you've got a new goal to push for, I think that's important.
Absolutely. I think it's, you know, this is also very applicable to education, isn't it, and learning. And it is that thing of, you know, just every week, just say to yourself that I'm going to do something this week that I've never done before. Because if you do something you've never done before, then you are going to learn a new skill. You are going to come across something different, or go and talk to somebody that you would have never spoke to before, because you will, it will open a door and you will move forward with it.
I did this in lockdown, actually, when, you know, lockdown seemed to go on for like what felt like about 10 years in the end. But at the very start of lockdown, when the gyms shut, I decided that I was going to do one thing every day for an entire month. So I did like 100 sit-ups. I think I started it in April, actually. And I did like 100 sit-ups every day in April. And by the time we got to the end of April, I had abs of steel. And then I was like, I'm going to do 100 push-ups every day for the month of May. And combining that consistency with that constantly pushing yourself was really, really quite eye-opening. Because at the start, I could probably do like 8 to 10 push-ups on my first set, and then I would have to stop. But by the end of it, I was getting up to like 30, 40 push-ups before I had to stop. So in that really short period of time, you notice just by constantly pushing yourself that little bit more, the gains that you make. Yeah,
it's so easy to just stay within your comfort zone, and that's what this is all about. It's about just you know, not being that uncomfortable that you're constantly, you know, out of your depth, but actually that you're just doing, you know, little incremental things every now and then, just to put yourself out the comfort zone and just learn something new. So constantly challenging yourself.
So the next one, I actually heard this on somebody else's podcast when they were talking about it, and they described it as reps and sets, and I really liked that. You know, when you approach the gym, we tend to follow a methodology called 5x5. So if anybody's really into their gym, they'll probably recognise that. But it basically means that you do 5 reps and you do that 5 times. So if you're doing squats, you'll do 5 lots of 5 squats. So 5 reps and 5 sets. But the reason why I did this in there is about having strategy and purpose. So every time we go into the gym, we're following a workout, we're following a methodology, we're following a plan. We know what we're going to do. We're not just turning up at the gym and winging it every day. I mean, I'm certainly not. I think Simon probably is more.
Easy.
But we don't just turn up and wing it. We know what we're going to do, and therefore what we're doing is always intentional. and we're doing it to achieve an outcome. And I think we can learn a lot of that in business because, you know, we all have it. Days when you kind of sit down at your desk in the morning and you do a bit of admin and you push a few bits of paper around and you answer some emails and you might do a bit of social media and then you might have a phone call with a customer and you get to the end of the day and you think, what on earth have I done with my time?
Yep.
Whereas if you approach every day, every week, every hour with intention.
Yeah, be absolutely intentional with your time. Yeah. I think this one, you've got to be careful with this one because this one can encroach on the one before, which is you could get yourself into a really good routine where you never break out that comfort zone. So this is actually why growing a business is so difficult, because you actually, you know, the core things that grow a business is actually being very boring, very consistent and very the same. But actually there needs to be that move forward at all times as well. And actually making sure that one doesn't conflict the other is a skill in itself. I think, definitely. Excellent. So next we've got do the things that you hate. So these are your weak points. If you don't address them, you get injured. And this is you basically having a go at me about not stretching. I just realised what I'm reading here. I'm like, is that what you mean, Claire?
Yeah, I mean, we know too well in the gym or any sports you do, you know, you're going for a bit of a run in the morning and you feel a little niggle in your hamstring or something and you ignore it and it becomes a bigger and bigger problem. Whereas, you know, if you just, the first time you felt that niggle, if you just realise that you got that niggle because there's a muscle imbalance somewhere or a little weakness or something like that, that you just did a few extra exercises or a few extra stretches to address and nip it in the bud right away. So our bodies are very good at telling us what our weaknesses are. And we don't like them inherently as people. We like to do the things that are easy and the things that we enjoy. So if you are avoiding something in your business or in the gym, it's probably because you're not very good at it.
And therefore you need to learn to be better at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what? You can't love everything. There's a great Jeff Bezos quote that if you enjoy 50% of your job, then you're doing as well as anybody else can expect to do. And his point in that is that there will always be, no matter what you do, where you are, what level you're at, there'll always be half of everything you do that you don't enjoy, that isn't something that you really want to do. But guess what? Tough luck, it just is part of that journey to get to where you want to get to. And I think, you know, he's sort of put that you know, across in that way. I'm not great at this, if I'm really honest, because the more, you know, it depends what the motivation is. And I think the more you have choice in life, the more difficult it is to continue to do the things that you hate, because you have a choice not to do them.
Yeah, you can give them to somebody else to do. And I'd love some advice as to
how you get over that.
Yeah, that procrastination. I mean, it's really interesting because I watch a lot of CrossFit and there's a very famous CrossFitter called Matt Fraser who has been like world's fittest man, I think like 4 or 5 times. Anyway, when he's in competition, like nobody can touch him. He just like runs away and is clearly going to win the competition right from day one. And when he's always asked what makes him successful is he says, I do the things I hate. Like if I'm not good at something, then I do it until I'm good at it because it's the only way to overcome those weaknesses. Yeah. And, you know, I must say, actually, I've got a bit better at this. I have even been doing like some cold calling this week to try and drum up a bit of business. We launched a new product and things got a bit quiet. And I never thought that I would do that because I'm not going to lie.
It sounds a bit dirty, doesn't it? Cold calling. Is that what you did, Claire?
Well, they were not entirely cold.
Aren't you a chartered accountant? You cold called.
Well, yeah, but everybody knows when you own a business, actually, what you should be doing is sales and marketing.
You're absolutely right. So, I'm being facetious, but good on you. It's not easy. It's not great. It's absolutely necessary. And
I probably
it's the thing that makes the difference.
I probably sucked at it as well. That's the reality.
I overheard you. I thought you were brilliant.
Oh, thanks, Simon. But I'm going to keep doing it because actually
no one's going to come to you and no one's going to ring you.
But I was bad at it because I haven't done it before, and if I do it more I'll get better at it and it won't be my weakness anymore.
Yeah. If you think about the amount of things now that you do with your eyes shut and you just have to constantly remind yourself, could I do this originally? And the answer would always be no, you couldn't. And the second time you do it, you get a bit better. And the 10th time you do it, you get a bit better. You know, cool. You introduced me to Canva. I couldn't use that at all. Very quickly got to use that because I was loving the rewards and the results that it gave me. Yeah. So brilliant.
And that leads us nicely into our next one, which is technique over everything. And I think I've seen in the gym so many times, you know, squatting's a classic one. The form on most people, I'd say like 99% of people's squats is a wonder that they're not injuring themselves, but they're certainly not getting the benefits out of that that workout and the effort that they're putting into doing that movement that they should, because they just have no idea what they're doing. And I think we see this a lot in business. People do activities without really understanding what they're trying to do. They don't have skill in it and they don't get the results they want. And I think pay-per-click is a really good example of this, or like paid for ads or marketing in general. People are putting so much content on social media. Is it giving them any benefit? Well, actually, no, because they don't have any idea what they're doing. They don't have the technique. They don't have the skill required to do the task that they're trying to do.
You're absolutely right. And a good example of that in the sales world is things like sales scripting. People don't call you up from the big companies and just randomly start speaking to you. They have highly tailored scripts that are constantly evolving and constantly getting better. They are fighting in what I call the 0.1% for incremental benefit there. And that is about constantly improving their sales technique. And exactly what you said about marketing as well, that constant test and measure, that constant improvement. Should we change the copy this week? Should we change the picture next week? And they are fighting in the world of technique, I would say.
And I can remember I had probably been squatting my body weight for about 2 years, and I had
about 30 kilos then, yeah?
Yeah, I bloody wish.
Bit light.
I had a PT, like a weightlifting coach, and we focused on technique for nearly 2 years before I squatted correctly. And the first time I felt that movement, it was like nothing I'd ever felt before. And I think when you get it right, the benefits that I got from that one squat probably outweighed the 1,000 that I'd done before by far, just because I had the right technique. I got exactly the right benefit in the muscles that I intended, and I got exactly the outcome that I desired. And that is what technique and skill gets you. So if you don't have skill in things, don't try and blag it. Get somebody to help you. Get a specialist to help you.
Get better. Get better.
Do whatever you need to do to get better. Learn the skill yourself, upskill yourself, or pay somebody else to.
Hey, another good example of this is the archery that we've just done. And the guy, we did archery at the weekend for the first time, and the guy's biggest takeaway I took from the archery was he was talking about the stance, the positioning, and the technique. And he said, if you do nothing else but focus on that will be 95% of where the dart goes. And it was just interesting that he said, if you can be consistent with that technique, then that will give you the rewards you want in the shot. So another good life example, I think.
Yeah.
So next one, big one for you, Claire.
Track everything.
Track everything.
So as an accountant, I feel like this is where the worlds collide, and this is just like Christmas for me. But I have something called a MyZone, and a MyZone is almost like a little bit like having an ECG. It tracks your heart rate and tells you exactly how much effort you're putting in, what your heart rate's doing, whether you can push harder. And I really like a MyZone because on those days where I'm feeling like a little bit lethargic and I think, I can't really be bothered with this, there's nowhere to hide when that bloody fitness tracker tells me that I'm not pushing, when I should be in like 80% heart rate and I'm down in 60.
You know where you are.
The numbers
absolutely
tell
know
me
where you are.
Black and white what's happening, how much effort I put in, how many calories I've burned, how long I've been going for. Yep. There's no hiding from it on your MyZone.
If I had to put this into a business contents, I would say that if I went to the gym and I didn't have my MyZone on, it would be the equivalent of me receiving my annual accounts from my accountant 3 months after my year end to try and understand how I did that financial year.
Oh, yeah? Simon, I've drummed this into you so
That is how I would feel without my MyZone.
Yes, the equivalent of running your business without the numbers.
How I feel with my MyZone is that I get monthly management accounts and I check those management accounts. Actually, with the MyZone, I'm getting real-time information, so it's even better. Yeah. I'm probably getting flash
You're not
forecasting.
going by gut. You don't feel like you're working out really hard when actually in reality you're just a bit lethargic today. And other times, sometimes I felt like, I can keep pushing. And actually I've been at like max heart rate. And if I keep going, I'm probably going to kill myself. So
mental.
Yeah. Absolutely track everything. Track your sleep, track your food, track your workouts, track everything.
Track everything.
And track your numbers in your business, most importantly.
Everyone. So, and the final one we've got on here is it's not an hour in the gym, it's a lifestyle and what you do outside the gym that is as important, and business is the same. I think what you're trying to say here, Claire, is that you immerse yourself in the business world or the gym world and you will get results. So, in the business world, if you immerse yourself with other entrepreneurs, other education, YouTube, podcasts, all those type of things, read some great books, then you're going to get better at business. And it's the same at the gym, isn't it?
Yeah, I think
Immerse yourself.
those like fitness influencers that we see on the TV and people in magazines and professional sports people in particular, you know, I think if you've ever watched any sort of documentary about elite athletes, like they don't just rock up to the gym. You know, Usain Bolt doesn't just practice running for a couple of hours a day and then he's really good at it. He breathes and sleeps it. He has a coach telling him exactly what he needs to do to get that millisecond faster. He's got professional nutritionists putting the right food into him. He doesn't drink. He sleeps well. He does lots of mobility. He does lots of stretching. He does lots of active recovery. You know, his whole entire life will be about making him better at sports. And I think this transfers into business so well. Yeah. And probably is one of the things that makes me appreciate you the most, Simon, is that we immerse our entire life in business. We eat, breathe and sleep business. We watch business TV. We listen to podcasts together. We talk business in the car. We've got family members who've got their own businesses. Like everything we do is about being more knowledgeable in the world of business.
And the gym.
And the gym, yeah. Learning the lessons should bring over.
I don't know. You're talking more about, we're a little bit weighted like a seesaw, maybe a bit more business over this side, a bit more gym over that side and vice versa. But overall, we are surrounding ourselves with it and immersing ourselves in it.
I keep you healthy and you keep me rich.
Is that how it works?
And together we keep each other happy.
Indeed. Well, I hope you've seen just how close to going to the gym, running a business is. And I think, you can use this across anything in your life. And, effectively, there's one core message here, and that's nothing happens by accident.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people believe that business, you just need to hustle and work hard in business. And I think that I probably learned this the most by going to the gym in the early days is I worked my arse off, and I also worked my arse off in the early days of my business, and it didn't get me the results I wanted because I wasn't doing the right thing.
Combining the hard work with all of these things that we've put forward, those technique, key elements,
consistency, and then hard work. And I think that's probably the biggest lesson that I've learned both in the fitness world, but more importantly in business, is that hard work alone isn't what it takes.
Indeed. Well, thanks for those insightful comparisons to business and the gym this week, Claire. Let's move on to this week's Profit Cash Growth Extra. So this week on Profit Cash Growth Extra, yes, I just want you to take your insurance premium through confused.com.
Can I just say the irony that we've just spoke for 20 minutes about going to the gym and living this super healthy lifestyle. People will be dying to see us, thinking that we are like a god and goddesses. Our bodies must be so amazing if we do this much gym stuff. But lo and behold, Simon is about to bring you a story all about Greggs.
It's only the coffee. Anyway, confused.com. If you order insurance through confused.com, the range of incentives that you get back now is insane. I mean, my car insurance was literally a few £100, and I've got a free Greggs coffee every month for 12 months through the confused.com app. All I do is I show them the app, scan it, and I get one of their coffees every month, which is fantastic for me because I buy coffee from Greggs, 4 or 5 times a month anyway. So that's a saving for me. So I'm very happy with that. But not only that, you can pick another incentive, and there was a range of them on there, but the one I picked was a £20 gift voucher for Sainsbury's as well, which is right in front of us there, Claire. Not yet spent, but I'm just waiting to go and get my sushi from...
Do you know what I was about to say? The same thing. I think we'll go and get sushi.
Probably use it for the sushi,
from Sainsbury's.
But seriously, check it out, confused.com. Insane how good some of these incentives are getting now. And I know it's all about, hooking you in. But do you know what? As long as you're not overpaying for the insurance and you've done the checks and you're happy that it's the right thing, why not get a few of these incentives on top of it as well? So thanks for joining us for this week's podcast. Hope you've enjoyed the interesting mix of gym and business. As always, make sure that you go to profitcashgrowth.com to check out Claire's company. Check out the YouTube channel and watch something on there. You can see on Facebook, Instagram. And if you'd like a free business review of your business finances, please drop Claire an email, claire@profitcashgrowth.com. And we'll see you for another riveting episode next week.